Okay. So then just let me know if there are any things that pop up on the screen. Names or numbers or anything. Anybody there yet?
You're lying.
I know.
But no.
Okay. I usually wait. I'm here with my mom for her first time helping me with the Facebook Live.
Kim Garris Williams is watching.
Hey! Just so you don't have to tell me names, but just numbers. Hope y'all are doing well, staying at home and listening to our governor's executive order. Just wanted to talk about a few things, but we're going to wait till some more folks show up.
Then 2 people at the top.
You don't have to whisper because they can hear you. You're holding it. How you doing, Mom? Tell the people how you doing.
Hello.
So today is Census Day, and I'm sure you've seen lots of posts and tweets and all kinds of things about the census, and so it's really important. But I also wanted to show how absolutely easy it is. So this is the first envelope that I got that I knew I was going to wait till Census Day to do mine, but because I did not answer it yet, I also got this number reminding me that I needed to do the census, that it was my legal obligation, but then also how important it is. And I also got this, a little reminder telling me that I needed to complete my census. And you can do your census by phone, online, or you can fill out the form. And it's kind of, I'll be honest, it's a little intense. I didn't test well, so it reminds me of a standardized test. But this is what came in the packet. So it is instructions, and it has a ton of different languages. And it basically says that you can go online to fill this out, and it tells you in the packet that you can do that. And then it also says, please respond by April 1st using one of the options. And then this is a postage paid envelope. So if you choose to do it by paper, all you have to do is fill it out, put it in, and you can stick it out for the postal service to come pick it up. But then they also give you a little bit more information about how important it is, and we'll get to that. Then this is the actual census form. And so you get your own personal code right here, and that's what you use to go online and fill it out. But it isn't that bad at all, seriously. And I think they said it takes between 10 to 15 minutes. It's going to take me probably a little longer because I'm explaining everything. But each of these questions, and then depending upon how many people you have in your home, for me, it ends right here, right? But then you might have person number 2, person number 3, person number 4, and then all the way up to person number 10. And then you have some more information at the back. So it's a little bit intimidating, but if you actually look at it in chunks, it's so big just in case you have 10 people in your home. So the first question is, because I'm just one person, I don't have to count the people that I'm answering for. But the first question is, how many people were living or staying in this house, apartment, or mobile home on April 1st? So when we say today is Census Day, you are supposed to be counted where you spend most of your time and where you live on today. So there is a couple of things that might be happening. You might have been in Virginia and went to live with someone else because you were in school and school shut down, or you needed to go take care of a family member somewhere else. So I would say, answer yours based off where you would have been if it wasn't for the COVID response. And so for me, it's here. I'm just one. And then I'm going to fill this out based off my address here in Newport News. The next question asks about, are there any additional people that you did not include in question 1? So really trying to get to how many people live at the address. So when you're filling this out, you want to take into account every single living human being. And I'm going to be real. I don't care if you got your boyfriend or your girlfriend living with you and they're not supposed to be there. None of this information goes to any agency, landlord, goes to nobody but the census. And if you don't want to fill it out on paper, again, you can do it online. But every single human being needs to be counted. Newborns, 5-year-olds, kids go way undercounted, and an undercount is super, it's so bad. For every person that goes uncounted, they say there's $2,000 in federal funds per year for 10 years that you leave on the table. So if you choose not to do your census, you and your family are leaving federal dollars that would otherwise come to your locality. So I feel like I'm doing this so that I can give Newport News $20,000 to help schools, or to help roads, or healthcare, or to help those that need services like SNAP and WIC. And so it really is a great honor, and I think a pleasure for me to do my part in being counted. But you count everybody. Doesn't matter your status of citizenship. If you are a human being and that is where you live, then that is where you should be counted. And while we're doing this, if you guys have any questions, be sure to put them in there, and my mom is going to help. Right, Mom? Then it says, in this house, apartment, or mobile home, mark 1. And it's basically like, is it owned? Is it rented? Is it occupied without any rent? And then a telephone number. Seriously, y'all, this is super easy. And then it just asks information. So I'm going to put my name, my first and last name with my middle initial, my gender. Unfortunately, it does just have 2 boxes. So if that is not what you would have originally checked, I do want to encourage you to check something so that it's not incomplete. But that's question number 6. The number 7 is age and date of birth. And so that's as of today. And then we get into, I have feelings, but we get into question 8 and 9, and that is about how we identify. And so number 8 asks if you are of Hispanic, Latino, or Spanish origin, and then gives you some options. And then number 9 is about race. And so there's this big conversation about race and nationality and culture. And I recognize that the Census Bureau did not do a good job of differentiating between all of that. But question 9 is all we have. And you can't write in, another choice, so to speak. So I would say pick the identity that, or identities that you would think of in your normal everyday. This is how I identify. So for me, I'll tell you, I've had so much fun doing 23andMe, finding all out about my mama's blood and my daddy's blood and learning all these kinds of stories. But the way I live my life and the way I navigate, even though I have Filipino heritage, I don't know Tagalog. I barely know how to make a lumpia. So it's not really my lived experience. So I am going to check Black and African American. So I don't want us to get into this like, well, my thing says I'm 5 different things, so you marking all 5. This is me speaking. This is not the Census Bureau speaking, but I would pick how you navigate the world. And that is really important because the demographic information that we get from the census is going to go into how those demographics are funded. And so if we dilute whoever you identify with, it could be challenging in order for us to get the resources. So say, for instance, a lot of African American communities within the Southeast community and in Hampton and Newport News on the peninsula went undercounted in 2010. Well, I don't want to do anything to hurt the type of power that comes with our vote or resources. So like I said, I navigate the world as a Black or African American woman. So that's how I'm going to fill it out. But it has a couple of different options, especially for the AAPI community. And it does allow for you to say some other race, print your race or origin. But they do give quite a few options here. So we can definitely have an offline conversation as to whether or not Lebanese and Egyptian people identify as white. But not today. Today, let's go in and fill out the census and make sure that we get that completed. So literally that is it. And then of course I said, like, if you had more people, you would go through and list it for the rest of the people. So I don't really feel like dealing with the mail system, so I'm going to do mine online. And again, I have this code that's right here, that I would go to 2020census.gov, and right when it pops up, it has a green button that says respond. So I'm going to click that, and then it gives me all of the instructions. Click a blue button that says start questionnaire, and then right off jump, it asks me for this code right here. So that's how I'm going to fill it out. I really want to impress upon you all how absolutely important this is. So census data is used for four main things. One is to collect the demographic information. How many people do we have in Newport News? How many people do we have in Virginia? How many children? How many people own their homes? How many people rent their homes? How many people are Black or white or Hispanic? The demographics help, because when I was in conversations on some of the bills, we used a lot of population data from 2010, even in the 2020 session. So when I said something about, well, the different types of languages that are spoken and we need bills for this or for that, it's just like, well, census data states. So really, if you're not counted or included in that while legislators are making decisions about policy, then that means you're not a part of the conversation. So that's one. Number two, we have 50 United States senators. Every state gets 2. That's an automatic. But then we have 435. Did I just say 50? 100. You weren't going to check me on that. 100 United States senators, because all 50 states get 2. Then we have 435 voting members of United States Congress. That number will not change. What does change is how the population shifts across the map and how those 435 are divided amongst the states. So if your state goes undercounted, you might lose a representative that goes to another state. So say, for instance, if Virginia goes drastically undercounted, we could lose one of our representatives to one of our neighboring states, because 435 doesn't change. How many each state gets, that's what does change. And so that's number 2. Number 3, you guys have heard me talk so much about redistricting. Well, when whoever is drawing the maps, look at the state of Virginia and population demographics. That is how we draw congressional districts. That's how we draw state senate districts. That's how we draw delegate districts. And then that's at the state level. Then within the local level, like in Newport News, we have North, Central, and South districts. That is all based off population, and that population comes from census data. And so how those lines are drawn really, really is dependent upon everyone answering the census, or your lines are going to get drawn and your representative or your district can be chosen without you even being a part of that conversation. So that's number 3. And then number 4, probably the one that everybody knows. I know y'all have heard me say, $675 billion. $675 billion was disseminated across the country in 2015 based off census data. And that was for things like benefits, healthcare, education programs, transportation funding for interstates, you name it, and it's probably within that same year of that 675, Virginia got $18 billion. If any of that money goes away, the budget that we are working on right now and going to finalize this month would be drastically changed if any of those dollars don't come from the federal government. And so it really supplements a lot of the things that we're doing here in the Commonwealth. And so I'll repeat, $2,000 per person that goes uncounted each year for 10 years. That's how much money we are leaving on the table. And so if you can imagine, if 1,000 people go, uncounted, 500 people go uncounted, that is money that Newport News or Hampton, Richmond, wherever you are, could be using to further improve things from like waterworks. All kinds of things that local governments really provide for their citizens. other things that matter. So when a business is thinking about coming into an area and locating, they want to know that they have the population to either maybe shop at the store or enough people to hire from, that they have all of these things that they need in order to come there. Well, if you're not being counted, it may not be an accurate representation and the business may not relocate there or set up shop there. When the power company thinks about how it needs to do its power grids in order to get power to everyone, if an entire community goes undercounted, they may think, oh, we don't need as much power there because not as many people live there. Schools, the quality of our schools is based on the amount of resources we put into it. We have a budget that put a historic amount of money into education, but if we don't get those federal dollars that we need to come back into our communities, then it won't be as moving forward as we wish. And then I want to give a real life example that we're dealing with right now, and I talked about it the other night, but if you listen to how the personal protective equipment, the PPEs, and some of the supplies are coming from the federal government, they're doing it based off population data. That per capita or population data is based off the 2010 census. So if you in 2010 chose not to fill out this form and you are not counted, exponentially however many people that was, that means that you're not included in the count for how much PPE we should get or the supplies that we should get for COVID today. So 10 years ago, our actions are impacting results today. So now we can look at today. Today's April 1st, Census Day. We don't know what's going to happen in the next 10 years. And I think this year has shown us that anything can happen. We want to make sure that we're counted so that we can get all of the resources that we would need within the next 10 years before the next count. So that is 4 major reasons. But I look at it not only as my duty, but my privilege, but also like, this is me fighting. This is me fighting for the resources that my community needs and deserves in order for us to be the best that we can be and to, help each other the best that we can. So that's my little soapbox. That's why it's so important. If you do call online, if you go on my website, I have at least 16 different languages, and it gives you the phone number to call if you need to fill out your census in that language by phone. And then again, you can also do it on mail. There are just so many other things. And when we talk about like the roads and we talk about we want to expand 64 federal projects, we need federal money for that. When we're talking about HRBT, we need federal funding for that. If y'all are tired of sitting in traffic, please understand that this 10 minutes was worth it, because you're going to be sitting in traffic for 10 minutes sometime. You could have done your census. It helps us really get all of the money that we deserve and need. And so there are, like I said, some communities that have historically gone undercounted, to include the Latinx community, the AAPI community and Black community, and then also children. There are, not at this time because of the shutdown, but soon there will be enumerators that will come out. And so if you have not answered these 3 pieces of mail that you've gotten, you're going to get a knock on your door. And so, yes, you will hear that the deadline for the census got extended into August, but don't wait, because as they're looking to see who has filled out their census and who hasn't, that's how they're trying to see what resources will be needed for which doors they need to knock on. I think I heard earlier today, I think it was Tracy DeShazer that said at the governor's press conference that we're number 8 in the nation right now with our response rate. We want to be number 1. We want to be as close to 100% as possible. And so just really helping that out. So don't wait till August. Do it now. Don't make people come chase you to come get it. Do it now. People that are incarcerated, people that are experiencing homelessness, there are group homes and healthcare facilities, where residential healthcare facilities, there are people that are tasked with doing the census for the people that are under their care. So they are taken care of, but that's really the gist of it. Were there any questions, Mom?
No, not really. Some people who came in late were asking what it was about.
Hey.
And other people answered.
Thank you. Y'all are so helpful. The other thing that I want to talk about really quick before we go is the May 5th election. So both Hampton and Newport News have our local elections on May 5th. COVID did not stop that. And people were asking me, well, why didn't they push back the election? So remember, legislators are home right now. We are not in Richmond. We are not making laws. We are not in session. So a lot of the response has been really on the shoulders of the executive branch. Well, the executive branch can only make changes up to the code. The code says that if a locality wants to push their election back, they can only push it back like 14 days. And then if they went to court, I think it could get up to 30 days. Well, if you look at May 5th to June 5th, you would get to June 5th, but then you would have the local elections on June 5th, but then you would have the primary elections on June 10th. And it wasn't worth it to end up having two elections close to each other. And then now we're under the Executive Order 55 that goes until June 10th anyway. June 5th, yeah. So here's what you can do. You can apply for an absentee ballot and vote by mail or vote absentee in person. And that will help you get your vote counted without having to worry to show up. And so that website is elections.virginia spelled out .gov, elections.virginia.gov. And you'll click on it, and you'll want to know this site too, because it has all of the information that you would want to know. But if you were to click on registration, if you need to register, registration, no judgment, not asking no questions. But if you have not registered, or if you need to update your information, you can do that there. And then there's all kinds of information for college students, which photo ID is going to be required. All of the bills that you heard about us discussing during session, none of them are in effect right now. Not a one. Your photo ID is still necessary, and you still have to have an excuse to use absentee voting. But we are allowing for people to use the excuse of 2A, and that's literally the number 2 and the letter A, in order to use absentee voting for this, because we don't want you to have to come out of your home. So registration if you need to change anything. And then if you click on casting a ballot, there's all kinds of answers to questions. But the easiest way for you to get a lot of the information is for you to go to your own citizen portal. And once you get to that, you type in your first name, if you are a registered voter. If you're not, you click on that green button that says register, and then once you're registered and in the system, then you'll be able to come up. Then your date of birth, the last 4 of your social, and then choose your locality, and that's the city that you are registered to vote, city or county that you're registered to vote. You say, yes, this is my information, and then you go to find. So this brings up your name as they have it in the system, your address, the date that you became a registered voter in Virginia, 1998 here, yes. And then it also has your precinct and your voting history if you've ever done absentee voting. I did it like all through college and when I was in grad school, so I have quite a bit of history. Your polling place, and then the districts that you're a part of. But you want to go to the part right in the middle, right here, that says, I want to update my information. That's if you need to update it. Say, for instance, your address or something was incorrect. Right under that, it says, I want to request or apply for an absentee ballot. So I'm going to click that and then press the green button beside it that says continue. And then it asks you a series of questions. So this one says, what is your residency status? And so I am a legal resident of Virginia. It asks me my classification, and I am not in the uniformed services or merchant marine, so I click neither. And then it has a new question. It says social distancing. It says, if you wish to avoid going to the polls on election day due to COVID-19, choose the first option. The second option requires medical approval and a mailed application. So that means under choose an absentee option, I have a reason. And we do have a reason because we said we're going to use 2A. So I'm going to click that and then click next. And then I'm going to choose for which election. So I'm going to choose 2020 May City General. And then it asks me for my absentee ballot reason. If you do it online, it doesn't have the 1, 2, it doesn't have the letter and the number. So I'm going to look for the one that says illness. And we'll click that. I do not have COVID-19. This is what we are allowing people to do in order to get their ballot. So then I click the green button, and I want my, it says, do you want your ballot delivered to a different address than your residence? And I don't. I want it delivered to my residence. Then it asks me for a contact phone number. And they can just give me a call if there are any questions. And it also asks for an email address. So I'm just typing it in. And then it asks if you have a disability, blindness, or inability to read or write. And if you need assistance, you can click that box. And then they will offer assistance with the ballot. So then this is the point where in Virginia, you still have to have your photo ID. And then this is kind of your consent for signing and allowing for verification through the DMV. So you're gonna grab your Virginia DMV, either driver's license or state ID card. And then I'm gonna say I consent to the use of my DMV signature. Then it asks me for my social security number. And then it asks me for my Virginia DMV identifier or customer ID number, which is like your TAC number, whatever that starts with. I used to know it by memory, but you know, getting older now. Isn't that right, Mom? So then I click the green box for next. And then it shows all of my information. I go back over it. I consent. Yes, I need an absentee. Oh, and then the 2A showed up. So the 2A online says my disability or illness. And again, you do not have to actually have COVID to use this. It is just the reason that we're saying you can use it in order to get your absentee ballot. And then I swear or affirm all of this is correct. And then I click the green button, submit. Now, I have a little thing here that says that it has been submitted. And what I like to do is get a little screenshot of it. So in case if I ever forget whether or not I've already asked for it. And then you can track it and everything back through your citizen portal. That is literally how easy it is to apply for your absentee ballot. And so I would encourage everyone to do that. Even if you want to go early and vote in person, you still have to fill out the application. So that's not a problem if you wanted to do that online. Once it comes, I'll show you guys how to fill it out. But basically, you check the people that you want to vote for Newport News and Hampton. It will be for City Council, for 3 seats on City Council. You either live in the North, Central, or the South. And then the same for School Board. North, Central, or South. In Hampton, it's a little bit different, but you would choose the 3 empty seats. It would be a list of candidates, and it may be more than 3 candidates, but you would choose a list out of them. Out of the list, you would choose 3, and that's for City Council and for School Board. And so we already know that, like let's say right now, in the middle of an emergency, I think it has really exposed how important leadership is, and so we want to make sure that we're choosing the right people to help lead our cities, especially in times of crisis. But on any given day, our city councils and school boards are so important. So you want to make sure that you vote. If you have any questions on anything that I've gone over this evening on census or absentee voting, let me know. And if you have any questions in general on COVID-19 or need any constituent services, let me know. Are there any questions, Mom? Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for looking and helping me fill out my census. I'm going to go finish that so that I can make it before 12 o'clock to say that I did my census on Census Day. I have a post up there that also gives you some options to send your friends. You can just copy it and paste it in text. And one says, what did one say, Ma? It was like, oh, you know, today's Census Day, you should really fill out your census. And it gives like all these nice reasons. And the other one was like, hey, pause Netflix for a minute. You don't have anything else to do. Go do your census. So whichever one of those messages your friend needs to get, send it to 5 friends and make sure that everybody really understands the importance of the census, because we need all of that money, right, Ma? Like right. Every single dollar. If Mayor Price was over here, he'd say he needs all that money to help us with our schools, waterworks, all of the things that the city of Newport News is doing for us. So that is all for now, and I will talk to you all soon. And there should be a button that says end.